Yes, Rosie. I mean, a really significant part of this debate yesterday was centred around criticism of the European Council of Member States and the European Commission, the minders of the EU treaties, for not intervening over the past 10 years while Viktor Orban was busy dismantling democratic values, principles and laws in Hungary. So there were calls yesterday really for the EU to step up its action and create some sort of meaningful reform in Hungary. And in three main areas they called for this, even though I should say at the start, this debate was not binding. But anyway, one of the ways is quite interesting. It would be that Hungary wouldn't have access to the EU's recovery fund, which is this over €1 trillion recovery fund that's being discussed at the moment by EU member states. That any access to that would actually be reliant on Hungary dropping its engagement in terms of dismantling democracy and following the full rule of law. So that was one of the areas. The other area was in the EU's budget, which we know discussions are taking place, that has to start in January next year, that any country engaging in dismantling democracy again or breaking rules of law would also not have access to cohesion funding. And that was another part of it too. And then there were calls for all member states to get behind the Article 7 process, which is the EU's sort of nuclear weapon for member states found to be in breach of EU law, that they would certainly be sanctioned in that way. But again, it really is down to the European Commission and the member states to act now. We haven't seen any action over the past 10 years so far. Rosie.
So we'll see what happens next with that. This clearly took up a lot of attention and time yesterday. But there's one more day of the plenary to come, Shona, today. What's on the agenda?
Yes, I mean, we've seen since the start of this pandemic a plethora of announcements from the European Commission in terms of investment initiatives, funding for industry. We know, obviously, EU industry is ailing at the moment. So MEPs will be debating with Valdis Dombrovskis, the EU Commissioner for the Economy, about, I suppose, some of this funding and how it will relate to SMEs, the tourism industry, and manufacturing industry, all the industries that are going to will find a huge fall in profit over the coming year and coming years. So even things like converting manufacturing industry that used to make clothes into making PPE equipment. So that debate will really be the centre of Friday and the final day of the European Parliament plenary this week.